So this video is going to describe how to make an electrophorus and a couple of experiments you can do with an electrophorus. And the equipment you will need for this activity are one styrofoam cup, one aluminum pie plate, one foam board, a piece of faux fur, some sticky tape. And you will need to make the top and bottom strips like we learned how to make in the electrostatics lab. I've already done that. You'll need to have them hanging so they can swing freely. On the left, this is the top strip, and on the right is my bottom strip. So if you follow along on the instructions for the activity on number 1, what we want to do is take the styrofoam cup and take its open end, and we're going to put that into the pie pan, and then we're going to tape it in there so it stays. So you can take a couple of pieces of tape and then just kind of set it in and tape it over the sides or something like that. And the purpose of that is to use the styrofoam as a handle. So in the activity that we're going to do, you're going to be asked to move the pie plate around, but we don't want to touch the pie plate. We always want to handle it by the styrofoam cup. And you can think about why. It has to do with the fact that styrofoam is an electrical insulator. And so by handling that, any charges on the aluminum pie plate are not disturbed when we handle it by its insulating handle. So, we've just done number 1. So now we're going to do number 2, which is to make sure that the pie plate is initially uncharged, and we're asked to test this. So I'm going to test that by using my 2 tape strips. So again, I'm going to lift by the handle, and I'm going to bring my pie plate near each of those strips one at a time, and hopefully you can see my top strip is getting attracted and the bottom strip, interesting, is slightly repelled. So that tells me that my pie plate is charged. So I'm going to discharge the pie plate just by touching it. Now I'm going to test it again. Alright, it attracts the top strip. Now it attracts the bottom strip. So if it attracts both test strips, I can be confident that my pie plate is neutral. Okay, so now that was number 2. I'm going to set aside my pie plate for a minute over on the table. Now I'm going to take my foam square. It needs to be neutral to start with, and I'm going to test that too. For some reason, the side of your foam square that has the writing seems to work better for this lab than the side without the writing. So I would recommend you try this side. I don't know if this is neutral yet or not, but I'm going to pat it a little bit to try to take any electric charge off of there that it might have, and I'm going to test it. So with my test strips, so if it repels a test strip, it has the same charge. So this one still has a little bit of charge. It's repelling my top strip. I'm going to try to neutralize it as best I can. You notice to neutralize the pie plate, I just had to touch it in one place because it's a conductor. But to neutralize an insulator like this, I actually have to touch it all over its surface. Alright, one more to test. It's doing very little to either of these strips. Slightly attracting the bottom, maybe actually sort of slightly attracting the top too. So I think I've pretty much neutralized it. Okay, so this is neutral. Okay, so I'm on number 3. I'm going to now put the pie plate, holding it by the handle, on top of the neutral square, like this. And I'm going to lift straight up, and what I want to pay attention to is how much force it takes. So how does it feel to slowly, gently lift this and try to remember what that feels like when I have a neutral foam square and a neutral pie plate. All right, that was number 3. I'm going to put the pie plate aside. Now I'm going to take the faux fur and I'm going to vigorously rub the surface of the foam square that has the writing. And put the fur aside. All right, now I have my neutral pie plate. I'm going to put it back down onto the foam. And now I'm going to slowly lift again and try to remember what it felt like before and compare. Does this feel any different? Okay, and make that observation. You can try it yourself and describe what you feel. Now I'm going to test to see if this aluminum plate is charged with my test strips. So I lift it off. I'm going to hold it next to each test strip. It's attracting the top strip. It's attracting the bottom strip. That tells me that this is still a neutral pie plate. I have not transferred any charge to this pie plate at this point. Okay, that was number 4. Now I'm going to do number 5. Before I do number 5, just because I want to make sure I observe something new, I'm going to charge with the fur one more time. I'm actually going to try to get a pretty good electric charge on this foam. And now I'm going to do number 5. I have my neutral pie plate, set it down. I'm going to bring my finger close to the edge, and I want you to watch and listen closely. Something should happen. Okay, I don't know if you could hear it, but when my finger got very close but not touching the aluminum pie pan, there was a small spark that I could hear. So now I'm going to lift this up by the handle and test to see if the pie plate is now charged. So if I bring it near the top strip, it's repelling that. It's attracting the bottom strip. So now this must have the same charge as the top strip. Now I'm going to, so that was number 5 and 6. We've tested that plate to see if it's charged, and it is. It has the same charge as the top strip. So now I'm going to lift it up again, away from the foam board, and I'm going to touch it again with my finger and listen, see if you can hear anything. Okay, there was another spark. So now I'm going to test the pie plate again. It's attracting the top strip, attracting the bottom strip. It's attracting both. So now it's a neutral pie plate. Now I'll put it down again. Bring a finger up close. A small spark happened. Lift it up again, feeling what that feels like. Bring it over here. Now it's repelling the top strip, attracting the bottom strip. Hold it away from the foam board. Bring a finger close. Listen. There was a very small spark there. So now it should again be a neutral pie plate. It's attracting both tape strips. So those are the electrophorus experiments. And now we will learn how to draw the charge distributions to explain what was going on in these experiments.